In Avatar: The Last Airbender, we witness the 100-year war that the Fire Nation set into motion. In this conflict, Fire Lord Sozin ordered his forces to attack and conquer all nations and plunge the entire world into chaos. As everyone knows, only the Avatar, master of all 4 elements, could stop them, but when the world needed him most, he vanished. With the Avatar gone, the Fire Nation had free rein to start their war. This unnecessary war has cost the lives of many innocent people and caused widespread destruction all over the world. But why is that the case? Why did Sozin give the order to attack? And what were his motives? In this video we will get to the bottom of this question. To understand it, we need to take a look at Sozin's past. The 6th episode of Season 3 gives us a glimpse into his past and the upcoming conflict. As we know, a long time ago, Fire Lord Sozin and Avatar Roku used to be best friends. They grew up together, trained together, and even tried to hit on some girls together. They even shared the same birthday. On one of these birthdays, Roku received word that he would become the new Avatar. Soon, Roku had to leave the Fire Nation in order to start his training. Roku was very concerned about this impending fate as Avatar. He was depressed that everything was about to change, that he didn't know what to expect from his destiny as Avatar, but above all, he had to leave his best friend Sozin. As a sign of how much their friendship means to Sozin, he gave Roku a royal artifact as farewell gift, which was only supposed to be worn by the crown prince. Roku traveled all around the world and eventually managed to master all 4 elements. When he returned to the Fire Nation, he and Sozin were still best friends and Sozin welcomed him with open arms. A few months later, Roku got married with Sozin as his best man. During the wedding, Sozin wanted to talk to Roku in private. There, he revealed him his plan. Sozin tells Roku that he has been thinking about the state of the world lately. He means that the Fire Nation is enjoying an unprecedented time of peace and wealth. The people of the country are happy and the nation is fortunate in so many ways. Roku asks Sozin where he is going with this. Sozin states that they should share this prosperity with the rest of the world, and in their hands it could be the most successful empire in history. Therefore, it is time to expand it. Roku answers in the negative and explains that the 4 nations are meant to be just that, 4. And this is the last he wants to hear about this. Roku, however, forbids Sozin to carry out his plan, as the balance between the 4 nations and elements would fall apart and it would be his job to prevent that from happening. Sozin, however, didn't listen and occupied territories in the Earth Kingdom and established colonies. When Roku found out, he flew to Sozin to confront him, and they got into a combat. Roku spared Sozin's life in the name of their past friendship. 25 years later, Roku's island was destroyed by a volcanic explosion and eventually killed him. With the Avatar gone and the imminent arrival of Sozin's comet, Sozin seized the opportunity and launched the 100-year war. He knew that the next Avatar would be an Airbender. So, in the initial phase of the war, he attacked the air temples and wiped out all the Airbenders. With this act, he hoped to break the Avatar cycle for good, as an Avatar would be the only one who could prevent his actions. However, this genocide failed and frothed his plans. As we know, Aang was not in the air temple at the time of the attack, which probably saved his life and ultimately made him the last Airbender. This event marked the beginning of the 100-year war. Territory and power. The main reason why Fire Lord Sozin launched a full-scale attack on the other nations and started the 100-year war was because he wanted to expand his territories and conquer the world. He thought he could unite all nations under one flag and turn it into a single united empire. Sozin was driven by a strong desire for power and glory. This sense of national pride and superiority fueled his imperialistic ambitions. He wanted to portray himself as the great leader who would bring peace, prosperity and justice to his new empire.
Your new empire?
Due to his deep-seated nationalist beliefs, he viewed the Fire Nation as inherently superior to the other nations. He thought that it was his destiny to rule over the world and spread the Fire Nation's culture, ideology and values. Therefore, he had to expand his territories and launch the invasion of the world. Economy and resources. One reason for the Fire Nation's expansion was the opportunity to gain access to new resources that are rarely found in the Fire Nation or can only be received from outside. The Fire Nation is rich in minerals, therefore the main economic power of the nation consisted of the extraction of raw materials and ores, and the production of steel goods. As the nation's region is a chain of volcanic islands, a large number of volcanically formed raw materials can be found there, including iron, copper, coal and obsidian, as well as precious metals like gold, silver, platinum and gemstones. Therefore, the greatest industries in the Fire Nation are mining and steel production. However, the resources were mostly used for national consumption, as many nations no longer wanted to trade with the Fire Nation after they attacked. Before the beginning of the 100-Year War, there was actually a lot of trade. The Fire Nation was known for its technological advancements and industrial capabilities, which likely made them an attractive trading partner for certain goods and resources. The main export goods were raw materials, steel, metal items, luxuries, technological know-how. However, the balance of power and influence shifted dramatically with the onset of the war, which significantly disrupted trade relations and led to increased hostilities. Even though the Fire Nation was rich in ores, there was a certain lack of necessary territory, widespread flat areas for agriculture and farmland. Since the Fire Nation is characterized by its volcanic, landscaped and stony territories, it's quite a challenge to farm in the area. The warmer and dry climate has a negative impact on the agricultural productivity. Only regions for agriculture are in the northern and southern coastal regions of the country. However, areas in the northern part of the Earth Kingdom and even Ba Sing Se itself have a large amount of fertile soil. Occupations of these areas could revive the food supply of the Fire Nation. Although the release of rock and ash during a volcanic eruption can result in extremely fertile soil, it was obviously not enough. The only way to get resources your trading partner is no longer willing to sell to you is to obtain them by force. So, the Fire Lord's strategy to expand his areas in order to reduce dependency on external sources was by taking wealth from other nations, securing geographic locations, controlling trade routes, or establishing buffer zones against potential threats. Colonization. After the destruction of the air temples, the next major target was the Earth Kingdom. Unlike the air nomads or the water tribes, the Earth Kingdom had the military means and technology to defend itself over a longer period of time. Fire Nation just made slow progress as the resistance of the Earth Kingdom was very heavy. Eventually, the Fire Nation managed to occupy northwestern parts of the Earth Kingdom. The occupied territories on the mainland became colonies. Colonies served as outposts in order to maintain the expansion of the newly acquired lands and to retain influence and control. Industrial facilities, such as factories and even military bases, were also set up. Fire Nation families were resettled to the colonies to inhabit these areas. So, Fire Nation families and Earth Kingdom families were forced to live together. Colonized people faced oppression and exploitation at the hands of the Fire Nation authorities. They subjected hard labor conditions, heavy taxation, discriminatory laws, all aimed at maintaining the Fire Nation dominance and extracting maximum benefit from the colonized territories. In the Avatar comic, The Promise, which takes place right after the TV show, we learned something very interesting about the colony Yodao. Yodao is the first colony ever set up by the Fire Nation. Even though the war was over, some political matters had to be settled in the post-war period. In the course of the Harmony Restoration movement, the Earth Kingdom and Fire Lord Zuko have agreed that all colonies the Fire Nation has established in the Earth Kingdom during the war will be removed, as it was former Earth Kingdom territory. Therefore, Zuko wants to bring all citizens who have Fire Nation roots back to the Fire Nation. An assassin tries to kill Zuko. She considers him as a traitor, as many people from the Fire Nation who live in the colonies have built a life and a family there. Zuko decided to travel to Yodao to see for himself. There he realizes that the people of the Fire Nation and Earth Kingdom people live together for generations. Zuko then sees that the Fire Nation people want to stay in Yodao and considers it as his job to keep this peace for his people. He tells Aang that it would be disrespectful to take away a life that people have spent over generations to build. Therefore, he decides that the Fire Nation citizens should stay in Yodao. When the Earth King receives this message, he was not happy about it. He is no longer willing to negotiate and mobilizes his army, sending them to Yodao with the aim of arresting all Fire Nation citizens. He officially declares war to the Fire Nation. When Zuko finds out, he's furious and mobilizes his forces as well to protect the Fire Nation citizens in Yodal. Soon the two armies arrive and face each other, and there is heavy fighting between the Earth Kingdom army and the Fire Nation troops. Aang and his friends try to stand between the two fighting nations in order to stop the battle. With success, they try to convince the Earth King to end the battle and resume negotiations. It can be estimated that they found a solution for the colony issue. Military and technology. The industrialization and subsequent technological development and modernization gave the Fire Nation many advantages, especially for the military. The heavy militarization ordered by Sozin led to improvements and new developments in war machines, such as ships, ground vehicles, and aircraft. A major technological advance was the discovery of coal as a new fuel source. This discovery was a beacon to the Fire Nation, especially for the Navy. Ships powered by coal can remain functional over a longer period of time and travel greater distances. Due to the new coal innovation, ships operated more efficiently and were capable of achieving higher speeds. As the Fire Nation is an island country, the easiest way to reach other nations is by sea. During the 100-Year War, the ships of the Fire Nation were the most powerful and advanced naval vehicles in the world. These ships were multi-purpose combat ships. This means they were used as heavily armed attack cruisers, but were also used as cargo and troop transporters. This allowed the Fire Nation Navy to effectively transport its armies and supplies from one place to another, giving them a clear strategic advantage in battle. Furthermore, these ships could be used to set up sea blockades so that enemy ships, merchant ships, refugee ships, or pirates could not pass. These ships were the prestige of the Fire Nation in the 100-Year War. There are many vehicles in history that have become a symbol of a conflict during a war. During the Vietnam War, the Bell UH-1 helicopters represented this conflict, as they were the most important means of transport for the US Army. Many people still associate this vehicle with the Vietnam War. We also have that case in the world of science fiction. During the Galactic Civil War in Star Wars, the Imperial Star Destroyers were the prestige of the Empire. They were huge capital ships and attack cruisers, heavily armed and capable of transporting troops, war machines and supplies. Like the Fire Nation ships, the Imperial Star Destroyers are designed for direct combat and long-distance travel. Real-world inspiration. The Fire Nation is based on Imperial Japan, which has been at war with the other nations for a century. The Earth Kingdom is intended to represent the monarchy of China, which is highly decentralized. The water tribes are located at the North and South Poles and are inspired by the Arctic Inuit tribes. And the air nomads are people based on Tibetan Buddhist monks. The Fire Nation and Imperial Japan share some similarities. For example, they have the same political system, a monarchy, a totalitarian and authoritarian regime with one leader holding absolute power over the nation. Both countries pursued expansionist policies aimed at extending the influence and control over neighboring territories. So, the same goals were the expansion of the own country and occupation of other territories for access to raw materials and natural resources. Both countries occupied areas of their larger neighboring country. The Fire Nation took it from the Earth Kingdom and Japan took it from China. Both Imperial Japan and the Fire Nation have experienced shortages of certain energy resources in their respective histories. Japan urgently needed oil, which could be found in large quantities in the area from northeastern China to the territory of the Soviet Union. With Japan's invasion of China in 1937 and the northern occupation of the country in 1941, trade relations between America and Japan deteriorated rapidly. That's why the USA placed an oil embargo on Japan, meaning that they would no longer export oil to them. This was a heavy blow to Japan, as more than 80% of Japan's oil came from the United States, and they needed that petroleum to run their war machines. After the war, both nations also decided to demilitarize. Well, Zuko did it voluntarily to make a statement for peace, and Japan didn't really have a choice, as it was an order from the United States. Well, in conclusion, it can be said that the 100-Year War happened just because of the ego of a madman and his crazy family. His nationalism and ideology have thrown the world of Avatar into chaos. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching.